I didn't even know I had a high-level NYC career until my mother told me about it. It started with a phone call. Don't argue, she said before I could say hello. Just listen carefully. I was sitting in my tiny apartment, surrounded by half-folded laundry and an unpaid electricity bill on the table. Outside, the city buzzed like always, loud, fast, unforgiving. The kind of place that doesn't care who you are unless you prove it. Okay, I said slowly. Your brother is bringing his fiancé's family over for dinner this weekend, she continued. They're important people, very high status. I rubbed my forehead. And they asked about you. That made me pause. No one asks about me, I said flatly. Well, they did, she snapped. And I told them you're working in New York. In finance. I sat up straight. Mom, I work at a small admin office. I file reports and answer emails. Not anymore, she said. Now you're a senior executive. I actually laughed. This is a joke, right? It's not a joke, she said sharply. Do you want your brother to look small in front of them? Do you want them to think our family is average? There it was. Not truth. Not pride. Image. I'm not lying to impress strangers, I said. You're not lying, she corrected. You're helping your family. The silence stretched between us. I need you to come home this weekend, she added, softer now. Just play along. For one night. I should have said no. I should have hung up. But something inside me, something tired, something that still wanted approval, made me hesitate. Fine, I said finally. One night. The house looked exactly the same when I arrived. Perfect from the outside, carefully maintained, like nothing inside it could ever be messy or real. My brother greeted me at the door with a tight smile. You're late, he said. Good to see you too, I replied. He leaned in closer. Mom told me what she said. Just don't mess this up. I blinked. Excuse me, this matters, he said. Her family is different. They have standards. And I'm the family embarrassment. I asked quietly. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Dinner was already set when I walked in. My mother was arranging plates like they were part of a performance. My father sat quietly, pretending to read the newspaper. You're here, my mother said, relief washing over her face. Good. Remember, Manhattan. Finance. Senior level. I stared at her. Do you even hear yourself? Just for tonight, she insisted. The doorbell rang. Everything shifted. My brother's fiancée walked in first, elegant and confident. Behind her came her parents, the kind of people who didn't need to say they were wealthy. It showed in the way they moved, the way they looked at things, the way they expected the world to adjust around them. Introductions were made. When it was my turn, my mother stepped in before I could speak. This is our daughter, she said proudly. She works in New York. Senior position in finance. All eyes turned to me. This was the moment. I felt the lie sitting heavy in the air. And then, I nodded. Yes, I said. The first lie is always the hardest. After that, they come easier. Questions followed. Salary. Role. Responsibilities. I answered carefully, vaguely, copying phrases I'd heard online, stitching together a version of myself that sounded believable enough. They were impressed. Of course they were. Because I wasn't real. My brother watched me the whole time. Not with gratitude, but with expectation. Like I owed him this performance. At one point, his future father-in-law leaned forward. Which firm? He asked. My heart skipped. I named a big one. A famous one. The kind even I knew. He smiled. I have connections there, he said casually. We should talk more. And just like that, the lie stopped being safe. Dinner ended with laughter, compliments, approval. Exactly what my parents wanted. But as the guests left, my brother pulled me aside. See, he said, that wasn't so hard. I looked at him, something cold settling in my chest. You don't get it, I said quietly. Get what? This doesn't end tonight. He frowned. It will, he said. Just relax. But I knew better. Because lies don't disappear. They grow. And something about the way that man smiled told me this was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke up with a tight feeling in my chest. For a moment, I couldn't remember why. Then it hit me. The lie. It sat there, heavy and alive, like something that had followed me into my sleep and refused to leave. I checked my phone out of habit. 3 missed calls. Unknown number. A message. Good morning. This is Richard Collins. I enjoyed meeting you last night. Let's connect today. I'd love to hear more about your role at the firm. My stomach dropped. Richard Collins. My brother's future father-in-law. I stared at the message for a long time, my mind racing. This was exactly what I had feared. The lie hadn't ended at dinner. It had just moved forward. I didn't reply. Instead, I got dressed quickly and left the house before anyone could stop me. I needed space to think. I needed air. By the time I got back to my apartment in the city, my phone had buzzed twice more. Another message. Let me know when you're free. I may have an opportunity that aligns with your position. Opportunity. The word felt like a trap. I threw my phone onto the couch and paced the room. This wasn't a small lie anymore. This was something that could unravel everything if I didn't handle it carefully. I called my mother. You need to fix this, I said the moment she answered. Fix what? She asked, pretending not to understand. Your lie, I snapped. He wants to meet me. He thinks I actually work at that firm. There was a pause. Then meet him, she said. I stopped pacing. Are you serious? Why not? She replied. You're smart. You can handle a conversation. This isn't a conversation, I said. This is someone who knows the industry. He'll know I'm lying in 5 minutes. You're overthinking it, she said, her tone dismissive. Just be confident. Confidence. That was always her solution. Mom, I said slowly, this could ruin me. It won't, she insisted. And even if it did, it's for your brother. His future depends on this. There it was again. Not me. Never me. I hung up. For the rest of the day, I ignored the messages. But by evening, I realized something uncomfortable. Running away would only make it worse. If I didn't respond, it would look suspicious. If I responded poorly, it would expose everything. Either way, the situation was slipping out of my control. So I did the only thing I could think of. I agreed to meet him. We chose a cafe in Manhattan. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. Or at least, I hoped it would be. When I arrived, he was already there. Perfect posture. Calm expression. The kind of man who didn't waste time. He stood up when he saw me. Good to see you again. You too, I said, forcing a smile. We sat down. For a few minutes, the conversation was easy. General things. The city. The weather. His daughter. My career. Then, smoothly, he shifted. So, he said, tell me about your role at the firm. Here it was. I repeated what I had said at dinner. Polished it. Expanded it. Added details I had researched the night before. He listened carefully. Too carefully. Then he smiled. That's interesting, he said. Because the firm you mentioned doesn't have a department structured that way. My heart stopped. I tried to recover. It's a newer division. He nodded slowly. I see. Silence stretched between us. He wasn't convinced. He knew. I could feel it. You know, he continued, leaning back, I've been in this industry for 30 years. I've met a lot of people. Some impressive. Some less so. I swallowed. And I can usually tell when someone is telling me what they think I want to hear. There was no point anymore. The lie had reached its limit. I exhaled slowly. I don't work there. He didn't look surprised. I thought so, he said calmly. I work in a small office, I admitted. Nothing impressive. My parents, exaggerated. Exaggerated, he repeated, a hint of amusement in his voice. They lied, I corrected. He studied me for a moment. And you? He asked. Why did you go along with it? The question hit deeper than I expected. I didn't want to embarrass them, I said honestly. Or my brother. He nodded slowly. So you sacrificed your truth for their image. I looked down at my hands. I guess so. Another pause. Then, unexpectedly, he leaned forward. Good, he said. I blinked. Good. Yes, he replied. Because now I know who you are. I frowned. Someone who lies. No, he said. Someone who tells the truth when it matters. That wasn't what I expected. I don't understand, I admitted. He smiled slightly. I wasn't interested in your job. I was interested in your character. I stared at him, confused. My daughter is marrying into your family, he continued. I need to know what kind of people I'm trusting. A cold realization crept in. This was a test, I said. In a way, he replied. And I failed, I added. He shook his head. No, he said. You passed. I didn't know what to say. Your parents and brother, he went on, they care about appearances. That's dangerous. But you're different. Something shifted inside me. For the first time in a long time, someone saw me, not the version my family created, not the version I pretended to be. Me. So what happens now? I asked quietly. He sat back, thoughtful. That depends on you, he said. On me. Yes, he replied. Because now you have a choice. I held my breath. You can continue supporting their lie, he said, or you can let the truth come out. My mind raced. If the truth came out, my brother's engagement could be affected. My parents would be furious. The image they worked so hard to build would shatter. But if I stayed silent, Nothing would change. I need time, I said. He nodded. Of course. As I stood to leave, he added one more thing. Be careful, he said. Sometimes, the biggest lies don't just backfire, they expose everything. That night, I sat alone in my apartment again. Same couch. Same unpaid bill. But everything felt different. Because now, it wasn't just a lie anymore. It was a decision. And whatever I chose next wouldn't just affect me, it would change everything. Didn't sleep that night. The decision sat heavy on my chest, pressing down every time I closed my eyes. My parents' voices echoed in my head. My brother's expectations. The carefully built image they had protected for years. And then there was something else. Something quieter. My own voice. By morning, I already knew what I was going to do. I just didn't know how far it would go. 2 days later, my mother called. They've invited us over again, she said, her tone bright, almost excited. A small gathering. Just close family. It's important. Of course it is, I replied calmly. They specifically asked for you, she added. So make sure you're prepared this time. Prepared. I almost smiled. I will be, I said. The house was even more impressive the second time. Everything about it felt deliberate. Controlled. Perfect. Exactly the kind of place my parents admired. As we walked in, my brother leaned toward me. Just stay consistent, he whispered. Don't overdo it. I looked at him, really looked at him. For years, I had tried to win his approval. Now I saw it clearly. He didn't want me to succeed. He wanted me to perform. Dinner began smoothly. Polite conversation. Light laughter. The usual exchange of status and subtle comparisons. Richard Collins sat at the head of the table, watching everything. Watching everyone. At one point, my mother proudly said, she's been very busy with work. Big responsibilities. All eyes turned to me again. Same moment. Same expectation. But this time, I didn't play along. I don't work at that firm, I said calmly. The silence was instant. Sharp. Unavoidable. My mother's smile froze. My brother's fork stopped midair. What are you saying? He muttered under his breath. I'm saying the truth, I replied. I don't have a high-level position in finance. I never did. My father shifted uncomfortably. This isn't the time. It is, I said gently. Richard didn't interrupt. He just watched. You embarrassed us, my brother hissed quietly. No, I said. I stopped embarrassing myself. My mother leaned forward, panic creeping into her voice. Why would you say that? Everything was going so well. For who? I asked. No one answered. I continued, my voice steady. I work a normal job. I pay my bills. I take care of myself. It's not glamorous, but it's real. The room felt smaller, tighter. And what's wrong with that? Richard said suddenly. Everyone turned to him. Nothing, he continued calmly. In fact, it's the most honest thing I've heard all evening. My brother's face darkened. With all due respect, this isn't about. It is exactly about this, Richard interrupted. He looked directly at my parents. You built a story to impress us, he said. But I'm not impressed by fiction. My mother's hands trembled. We just wanted to make a good impression. And in doing so, he said, you showed me exactly what matters to you. Silence fell again. Heavy. Final. Then he turned to me. You told the truth, he said. That's rare. I nodded slightly. My brother pushed his chair back. So what now? He snapped. Does this ruin everything? Richard leaned back, completely calm. That depends on what everything is built on. No one spoke. Because they all knew the answer. After dinner, things fell apart quickly. The polite smiles didn't return. The warmth didn't recover. Conversations were short, forced, empty. By the time we left, the damage was done. In the car, my mother finally broke. Why would you do that? She demanded. You ruined your brother's future. I looked out the window, watching the city lights pass by. No, I said quietly. I revealed it. My brother turned in his seat, anger burning in his eyes. You always do this, he said. You never think about anyone else. I met his gaze. For once, I said, I did. He didn't understand. He probably never would. A week later, the engagement was still intact. But different. More cautious. More distant. Because once doubt enters a relationship built on image, it doesn't leave easily. My parents stopped talking about status. At least around me. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. Not because I had won, but because I had stopped pretending. A few days later, I received a message. From Richard. You did the right thing. If you're ever interested in a real opportunity, let me know. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I smiled. Because for the first time, anything I built next would actually be mine. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it isn't about destroying others. Sometimes it's about refusing to be part of a lie and letting the truth do the rest.